Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Ashby and call me Hooby, and I am so excited for the TBR section of this video. But let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the wrap up. That is how these videos go. I'm just so excited to talk about and find out what I'm going to be reading this month. I'm going to do what I normally do and go through the books that I read in the order in which I read them. I read a lot more this month than I normally do, or finished a lot more, but I'll get to why it's finished in a little bit. Anyone who watched my video last month should definitely not be surprised by this one. The first one that I finished reading was The Great Alone, which was an audiobook that I got from a library, and it was so good. It is the first Kristen Hanna book I have read or listened to, or however you want to describe it. Essentially, any way that I can talk about it without spoilers probably makes it sound kind of boring, but I promise you it wasn't. There were bits that were a bit slow, as reviews I've seen since have also said about, so it wasn't just me that thought that. Some people didn't think that, but some people also thought that. But the synopsis essentially is that there is a family, a mother, father and a 13-year-old daughter who move around a lot, and now they are going to move to Alaska, and it's about their journey while they live in Alaska. The father is a vet from the Vietnam War. It's set in the 1970s, I believe, and spans some time. There is a big plot point that you might want to look up a trigger warning for, but I went into it blind not knowing this, and I liked that I didn't know about this beforehand. But if you do have triggers that you're worried about, then do look up what the trigger warning is. I have seen multiple reviews that say that if you're someone who has dealt with that or has lived in Alaska, then they both read as someone who has done neither. So it's less enjoyable for someone who has that experience. I fortunately have neither. Not that I'm fortunate not to live in Alaska, but I mean, one could argue that, I suppose. It wasn't quite what I meant. After that, the next 4 that I read was in the Colour Wheel reading vlog video, so I won't go into them at all, because if you want to know about it, there's a whole video that's dedicated to just those 4, so I'll say nothing more about them. But that gets me up to 5 from this month. And then the next one that I finished was Divergent. I was reading Divergent as a buddy read, and if you look at my Storygraph stats, I'll put them up here now. It says my average time to read a book was 10 days. That was definitely skewed by the 2 buddy reads that I finished this month. The first one being Divergent, because obviously that took longer than 10 days. But if I read 12 books in 30 days, my average span otherwise shouldn't be as much as 10 days, because it doesn't make sense. I also finished The End of Magic the following day, which is the 14th of June. That's how far we've got through the month at this point. That was really good. I had started it before last month's video, so I talked about it a little bit in that video, and it's pretty much continued on for my thoughts with that, in that it was darker than I was expecting for some reason, even though it's a post-apocalypse book, but it's a fantasy post-apocalypse book, so for some reason I didn't really click through that it was going to have some dark elements in it. It wasn't overly dark, it's just that when I wasn't expecting it, it was suddenly like, oh, okay, yes, wow. But I did definitely enjoy that, and I am going to continue on with the series. I'm basically just waiting for HRCYED, which I did a video on last week if you don't know what it's about. Or you can just Google it and find stuff out there. Highest reading challenge you'll ever do. There's plenty of stuff out there. The next one I finished was the other buddy read that I had going on, which is Brave New World, and what words can I use to describe Brave New Worlds? Partway through reading it, I saw someone post on Fable just saying that they were reading that, and just, what? Nothing else, not even a question mark, just what? And I was like, at the time I was like, this could be about any part of the book. And I was only about a third of the way through, but like, I feel like this entire book, this could be about any part of the book. And I finished it, and yep, that I have absolutely no idea where that person was, because it could have been anywhere. I can't rule out any places that in the book that person could have been. That sums up the book. Honestly, the fact that it was written so long ago is just... It doesn't feel weird that it was written so long ago. There are definitely a few aspects of it that I realised were probably more dystopian to someone living in that age than it is to us now. But not a massive amount. It was interesting. I am glad that I read it. I'm not sure I'll ever reread it, basically. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about Fable's TBR Bingo. In February, they did this whole TBR Bingo thing. They made their own graphic with different things, and the idea was to get a bingo on it. I did a blackout bingo because I decided to do a blackout bingo for some reason or another, and I had been missing it. And then I realised that although Fable had stopped doing it, they also hadn't stopped doing it. They had been putting up posts that have the challenges on instead, rather than doing a graphic for it. Which is a small team. I understand not bothering to do a graphic every month. That's a lot of work for a small team that isn't necessary and people don't necessarily use. I, however, wanted the graphic. So I went to their June challenges and I made my own graphic based on that for this month's challenges. So my next reads are based off of those challenges specifically. I will say that one of the challenges was post a photo of your pet, and I put it in the graphics, and even though I posted a landscape picture for it to look good in the graphic, I made it portrait, which doesn't look as good, but also it looked weird landscape, so it is what it is. So to celebrate the World Cup starting, there was read a football related book. I'm not that big into football, but I found a lesbian romance football book, so I read that, and that was pretty good. I quite enjoyed that. There were definitely still bits that was like, really? To me personally, but I enjoyed it overall, and I'm glad to have found it, basically. The one after that, this is the 24th of June I'm at, and I'm like, I have got to read some more books to complete this bingo thing. So there was Black Author. Naturally, I love Flip, how have I forgotten her name? Callin Bayron. I've mentioned multiple times before, I love Callin Bayron. I talk about her all the time. So I went straight to Kobo Plus and just put in her name to look at different books that she's written that I could read, and I looked in the library apps. My problem was I kept seeing stuff that I could use for HRCYED. This was after I decided that I was going to do it, and I just looked and I'm like, oh, that could be used for this, that could be used for that. I don't really want to read it before HRCYED starts, which is on the 7th of July. So I wasn't really sure until I found Disney A Lost Revenge, and I thought, brilliant, perfect, I will read that. And it was good. I read it in like an hour or something because it's a graphic novel. It's possibly the first graphic novel I've counted on my reading list, but people do it all the time. I'm doing it too. That's yeah. If everyone else does it, why can't I? You know? I don't know why I'm like... Probably because previous years I specifically had it as novels. So now when I read something that's not a novel, I find it hard to be like, yes, this counts, essentially. But it does count, so I put it on there. I believe the challenge for the Black Author was because of Juneteenth, which was obviously in June. It's in the name. Disney Descendants A Lost Revenge takes place after the 3rd film and before the 4th film, and it, like all of the other Descendants stuff, works in slightly different canon potentially, but it fits nicely as a bit of an explanation before going to the 4th one, but also doesn't quite work with the 4th one. It's complicated to explain, but yeah. This next book that I finished, I was about 70% through it when I discovered some things about the author. She posted some stuff a long time ago that she might no longer believe in. She has deleted those posts, but she also hasn't come out and said anything about it. It did put a bit of a sour taste in my mouth about it, but I was invested in the book at that time, so I did finish it. Obviously, otherwise it wouldn't have been a finished book. But because of that, knowing that there are probably people watching who wouldn't want to support someone with those beliefs, I'm not going to go into what the book's about at all. I'm not going to go into my enjoyment level of it or anything about the book whatsoever, because I don't want to get people interested in it and then them to look up stuff and be like, oh, I don't want to support this person, therefore I won't read this thing that I'm now interested in. I had that problem when I was 70% through, so I did complete it. But yeah. And finally, I needed a book for the LGBTQIA+ square, which was the author had to be LGBTQIA+, and I did already have 2 on there because Callan Bayron is LGBTQ+, and so is Claire Lydon. So I basically just... I can't remember what I googled exactly to find authors that are LGBTQIA+, but I did, and I found one, and I found the book Head Girl available on Kobo Plus, so I read that. It's a collection of poems that it was quite strange, because I was like, oh yeah, this person has a girlfriend, I will read her book, you know? And then in the book it talks about boys and boyfriends, and I'm like, okay, so obviously not gay, but like none of it was even remotely LGBTQIA+, so I was like, this is a bit weird to fill in a square that's got none of that within it. And Claire Lydon, who wrote Hot Shot, is also LGBTQIA+, so I did actually start reading one of her other books to fill in that square, but I didn't complete it by the end, so Head Girl is there. I mean, the author is LGBTQ... I can't keep saying that. The author does fit the prompt. My issue was just that the book felt very much not like the prompt, so it sort of felt strange putting it there. But I did. It's there. And that was the last book I read, but the last prompt on the bingo card was start a buddy read. And I finished 2 buddy reads, but I did also start a buddy read in Insurgent, which was the next one already on our list to buddy read, obviously, after we'd done Divergent. So for those not keeping track, that meant I read 12 books, or finished reading 12 books. I am also 73% through another book, and 2 of those books were buddy books that I'd started last month, and I'm also 7% through another book, but those are 12 books that I finished in June, and I completed all 6 squares on the Fable TBR challenge thing. So now we get to move on to the bit I am more excited about, and that is my TBR. I'm going to start off with Fable's reading challenges for this month. There is share a photo of your hobby. I'm not really sure what hobby I'm going to be sharing a photo of, bearing in mind I am struggling with basically all of my hobbies, but we will see what I find and what I'll post, and you'll probably see it at the end of, well, the beginning of next month, I guess. There was read a book outdoors. This is actually a prompt in HRCYED as well, so it's something that I am planning to do within the next year, so I will probably do that this month and then tick it off for both, which is kind of cool. This next one is kind of funny. It said, take a walk with an audiobook. Any book will do, but if you live in the Southern Hemisphere, take a walk with an audiobook from Desiree's Cold Seaside Reads list. For each of the challenges, they have a list of suggested books for things. So that was it. And I commented saying, what if you can't take a walk? Is there an accessibility option? Because I was thinking about it, I'm like, do I just ask in my video? It's like, I can't take a walk at the moment. If it were just the agoraphobia being an issue, then I would, you know, get out my walking pad and walk whilst I listen to an audiobook. Reading a book outdoors is already going to be difficult enough for me, but I can either do that in a car, or hopefully someone can sit outside with me. I'm lucky enough to have a garden available, and I can read a short book doing that. The person who posted it, I guess, or a mod, I'm not sure, said, that's a good point, I can update the challenge. And now it says, take your audiobook outdoors. So it goes from read a book outdoors to take your audiobook outdoors. So I guess people can tick off both of those with an audiobook. But I will probably read one of those short, like 2-hour books outside, and then also listen to an audiobook at some point outside, but not the entire audiobook. Then there's Honour BIPOC Mental Health Month and National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month by reading a book focused on the BIPOC experience. I'm not really sure what I can do for that. I mean, I found out this list like 2 hours ago, so I haven't given that much thought to any of them. So that's really going to be more interesting to find one for. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. If you have any ideas, any suggestions, then please let me know. Then there's perform an act of self-care. We should all celebrate International Self-Care Day, which is the 24th of July. That could be so many different things that I will see. And finally, read a book about the disability experience for Disability Pride Month. I did actually just watch a video where someone talked about having read a book that's very disability pride type stuff. So I might find that and read that. I think that was called Death of the Author or something like that. I'll probably find it and put it on screen. I don't know if I'll be able to get that to read or anything, but that's just the one that came straight to my mind. Again, if you have any suggestions, please let me know. For those who don't know, the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do starts on the 7th of July, so I have about a week of reading before I can read anything for that. And pretty much every book I look at, I'm like, oh, but that could be used for that prompt, I better save it. So I'm struggling a little bit at finding books for before that. But To Like the Lightning is a book that I had recommended. It's part 1 in a series. Technically the series was recommended, and apparently To Like the Lightning isn't really that good for prompts necessarily. So I found that on Libby and I'm probably going to borrow and read that. I also had an annoying thing happen this month / last month, and that is that I put on hold 2 audiobooks that were going to become available in September. I was already like, oh, I don't really want 2 audiobooks that close to each other. I had The Martian and The Great Alone come off hold around the same time, and it was a struggle to finish them in time because I don't listen to audiobooks as much as I read physical books. But it's September, they probably won't actually become available in September. People will return them early because that happens all the time. I was right. Yesteryear has come off hold and Project Hail Mary hasn't. What would have been brilliant is if it had been the other way around, because Project Hail Mary is due to come off hold the 27th of July. Project Hail Mary I first read less than 5 years ago. The HRCYED rule for rereading books is that you can't have read it within the past 5 years. So if I had Project Hail Mary available now, I could listen to that before the challenge and it would have been perfect. No, apparently not. That's not allowed. Meanwhile, Yesteryear, I want to read for HRCYED and I'm having to wait until the 7th to start it. So that is a pain, massively. But there we go. Yesteryear is on my plan for reading this month. Finishing You're My Kind is obviously on my list for this month. And Project Hail Mary will be started this month probably. That's kind of annoying. I also want to start reading through my Yauk books that I got in November. So at least one of these is on my list. I don't really necessarily mind which one, but at least one of these I'm hopefully going to read this month, or start at least. There is one that I don't really think is going to fit any prompts, so I might read that before HRCYED starts. Now, speaking more about HRCYED, again, still, this is going to be a constant thing for next year, just so you know. It's going to be a lot of HRCYED in the wrap-ups and TBRs. There are lots of prompts on the list for HRCYED, for those who don't know. I have got a list of 6 on a wheel because I like myself a wheel, and I'm going to spin it and choose some books to read this month based on that prompt. My plan is to do a reading vlog of the books that I spin right now, but we will see whether that happens because it is due to be very hot this month. But let's go. This is what I'm so excited about, and you can't see that at all. Luckily, I'm recording my screen, so I can put it on top. Food Pyramid. Ah, okay. I specifically only put on things I've got at least 3 books for, by the way. So what are my ideas for Food Pyramids? Okay, I've got 2 that I'm going to try and get from the library, I believe, that were available when I looked at it. That I Want to Die, but I Want to Eat. I don't know how that's pronounced. I can't speak Korean. But it's on screen, I'm sure. So there's that one, which is apparently really short. So that's quite nice to do for a really hot reading vlog. And then there's The Clockwork Orange. I found a copy that has a glass of milk on the front, so that's dairy. and I got on Kobo Plus Lilith, which has fruit on the front. So that's 3 right there straight away. None of them need to be physical books, which means I might be able to save my hands for doing the Yauk selection, which could be quite good. I think there was another one that I had. Oh, Before the Coffee Gets Cold as well, which will count under beverages. That's another one that I'm interested in. So I've actually got 4 and they're all digital. So I can choose depending on how I feel that week. That's great. I love that for me. I love that for me. Oh, I'm so excited about that. How many books is that on my list? Up to 5 with the Yauk books, but I'm not planning on reading all 5. A maximum of 2, probably. There is the fact that TBRs are more like menus than to-do lists. Despite the name To Be Read, it's not a to-do list, it's a menu, it's a selection. Up to 4 for the food pyramids, so that's maybe 5, I guess. 2 audiobooks, that's 7, although I suspect one of them won't be finished this month. I think 7 is enough. 8, because I've got the one that I'm supposed to be reading before the 7th. So that's 8 before we even take into consideration what I might read for Fable. That's quite a lot of books. We'll see how I get on, and hopefully next month I'll be able to tick off loads of HRCYED prompts and stuff. I'm so excited about it. I'm genuinely so excited about it. It's unreal how excited I am about it. That's the point. I did have a specific book in mind for reading outside that says it's 2 to 3 hours long, but so is I Want to Die But I Want to Eat, that word. So that's great too. That could be used for that and double up. Okay, awesome. I've got plans and my head is like sounds like the wheel, but in a good way. Please let me know how you did last month, what you were planning on doing this month, whether that's reading plans or any other type of plans. And I hope everyone who's going through a heatwave survives it with... I hope you're good. I hope you're good during the heatwave, basically. And thank you for watching. If you want to, please like and subscribe, and maybe see you in the next one. Until then, bye.